r/NoSleep. Posted by u/emorybored. I work at the night library. We operate under an eccentric set of rules. It makes sense when you think about it. The quiet kids. The queer kids. The nerds and the geeks and the loners. When everyone else is out at bars and clubs until 2 in the morning, sloppy drunk and shoving their tongues against each other's uvulas in front of God and his brother, where are they supposed to go? All the calm, hushed corners of the world are inaccessible after around 8 o'clock. No cafes to tuck into to sip on something sweet while clacking away at a keyboard. No bookstores with their worn, welcoming armchairs looking to beckon in the weary. No libraries. Except Matt's. Matt Nelson, my boss, is the director of the night library, for lack of a better term. Does he possess the credentials to occupy the position of a library director? Let's just say if tearing through a pack of cigarettes and a pot of coffee in an hour were the top qualifiers, there'd be no better man for the job. But the night library doesn't have a board of trustees to answer to, which means Matt's GED may as well be a master's. It isn't a public establishment, nobody's paying for its existence with their tax dollars, and the books don't come straight off the press from the publishing house, ink still wet, pages still hot. I like to think of it as the half-price books of the library world. Our collection is made up of any and everything anyone is willing to contribute, which leaves us with a total sitting somewhere around a cool 1,000 items. It's a good thing, too, because we wouldn't have enough of a staff to manage it all otherwise. In all, there are 7 of us, or 8, if you count Doug, but no one's entirely sure he exists. Alice is our cataloger, and Matt's very first employee. When he set out to open the night library's doors, he knew he would need a way to keep track of his inventory, and he only trusted himself to do so with the number of books he could count on both hands. The way he tells it, Alice laughed in his face when he propositioned her. She was working the streets at the time, and when he pulled up to her corner in his '97 Ford Ranger, cranking the window down at a geriatric snail's pace, to ask if she was interested in alternative employment, she told him whatever he was paying in a week couldn't hold a candle to what she made in an evening. He handed her his card, which was actually the business card for a local nail salon covered in whiteout and scribbled over with a Sharpie marker, and told her to give him a call if she changed her mind. To this day she won't tell him why. But when his phone rang smack in the middle of the night less than a week later, it was Alice on the other end. What in God's green hell would anybody want with the library open dusk to dawn? She asked him, once he'd elaborated on the position he was offering. Just let me know, he told her. She was outside the door 20 minutes later. After Alice came Della. She wandered inside one night in the dead of winter, fingertips purple and eyelashes weighted down with ice. Matt was mopping melted snow out of the entryway and she stopped in front of him, blocking his path. "Can I help you?" he asked. No response. He took a moment to size her up, gauging the situation, and tried again. "Are you looking for work?" She snatched the mop straight out of his hand. She's never spoken a word to any of us, but not a speck of dust falls on a single surface before she catches it mid-air. We aren't sure if Della is even really her name. Matt just caught her writing it on the bathroom wall with foam cleaner one night, and when he asked there was no objection. Horace was next. He'd been a regular patron of the library for quite some time before Matt took notice of the way he meticulously studied the shelves, halting anytime he spotted a misplaced item to correct it before moving on. Matt stopped him as he was straightening a row of outdated medical texts and said if he was going to volunteer his time he might as well get paid. Jenny followed not too long after, and she was certainly the most forthright of the crew. She marched directly up to the desk just before closing time and said to Matt, "Don't you have a life outside of this place?" Matt says now that he supposes he should have taken offense, but seeing as how he did not, in fact, have a life outside of the library, he didn't. "No," he told her plainly. "Why?" "Because." Apparently Jenny popped her gum here, which invited Matt to consider banning gum from the premises entirely. Then, he thought, given that he'd never banned anything from the premises, gum seemed like the wrong place to start. "You're here, like, every night. Don't you want some time off? I could run the desk for you. It doesn't look very hard." "Okay," Matt said. He gave her a crash course of the circulation system, which isn't a real circulation system at all. One of his tech acquaintances built the program and it runs exactly as well as we need it to with no room to spare, tossed her the keys, and headed home. Wiley would be the token charity case, except that they bust their ass harder than the rest of us put together for this place. The first couple of times they came around, they covered one of their eyes with their bangs and hung out in the library's dismal excuse for a teen area from sundown to sunup, never lingering quite long enough to be told they had to leave before Matt locked up, but certainly cutting it close. While Matt was standing on a ladder one night trying to stuff enough paper towels around a faulty sprinkler head to keep it from saturating a ceiling tile, Wiley nearly scared him to his death coming up behind him without a sound. "I want to make a deal with you," they said. Once Matt had recovered from his miniature heart attack and regained his balance, he peered down the ladder to find Wiley staring up at him, face fully bared to him for the first time, right eye bloodshot and swollen with a bruise so dark it resembled a pit just beginning to yellow around the edges. "All right," he agreed, not bothering to ask what the deal might entail. As it turned out, Wiley's bargain was this: anonymity in exchange for labor. "No one can know where I am," Wiley explained. "I can't give you my legal name, or an ID, or my social. But I'll work hard and I'll do it for free if I can stay here. I won't run up the water or the electric. I won't turn any lights on or even use the bathroom during the day. It'll be like the building is empty the whole time it's closed, I swear. I just need somewhere to lock myself in." Matt's only conditions were that Wiley A, accept a paycheck, and B, keep their arrangement quiet, as he didn't need everyone in a rough spot to come to him expecting that they could strike the same deal. Wiley said, "I have no one to tell," and then asked where Matt kept his tools. "If we've ever had a leak since, or a blown bulb, or a fried computer monitor, it hasn't lasted long enough for Matt to call a repairman before Wiley's had it fixed. As for me, it was sort of a fluke that I was hired at all. I don't sleep much during the night. In fact, I've only ever had one day shift job, and my body's internal alarm clock wasn't a fan of that arrangement. I was working overnights at a nursing home before the library, and I happened to pass by on a night off after a walk, too antsy to sit alone in my apartment. I'd never noticed it before, which isn't unusual for me as I pride myself in my attention span's ability to give goldfish a run for their money, but the dim glow emanating from inside among the sea of darkened storefronts stood out like a beacon. My first impression based on the interior of the building was that it had likely been a laundromat in a past life, with its paltry concrete floors and low, tiled ceilings. The short, sparse shelves lined along the entryway, for new books and special displays, I now know, led me in a natural progression to the circulation desk, where Matt had his face buried in his hands and Jenny was holding open a book next to him that had cracked fully down the spine, loose pages lying haphazardly across the countertop. "Can't afford to replace shit all the time," Matt was saying, muffled by his palms. "Whatever. If it's too bad to glue it, just, I don't know, throw it away, I guess." I'm not sure what possessed me to do so, but I took a step forward, fingering the edge of the front cover. "I can fix it," I said. And then, as though such a vague explanation would make the situation less awkward somehow, "I do that. Fix books." Matt's head raised slowly, as though someone had attached it to a string. "Got a whole tower in the back. Can you fix all of them?" "I mean, I'd have to look at them first," I told him. "I've never done it on, like, a professional level. But my grandpa had some book presses he left me when I was in high school, so I've been doing it as a hobby for 10 years, give or take." Matt seemed to mull this over for a moment. "Most of what we've got's not anything special, but there are a couple of collector's items here and there. Signed copies, first editions, stuff like that. Can't find them damn near anywhere, and if you do people want a pretty penny for them. What's your name?" "Adam." Matt stuck his hand across the desk. "Welcome aboard, Adam. When can you start?" That was about 3 years ago. Which doesn't sound like a ton of time, granted, but there are some things around here you have to get used to so quick that by 3 months in you start to feel like a seasoned vet. Every place has its odd little ins and outs, of course. We've got plenty. The back door next to the dumpster sticks from the outside, so we have to prop it open to take the trash out unless we want to walk around to the front. One of the bathroom lights is finicky. When the switch is flipped they all shut off but the very center panel, and it takes a few tries to make it cooperate. Our power gets knocked out so easily in storms that we've got about a metric fuck ton of battery-operated fans to keep cool and a whole manual checkout system for when the computers are down. But as inconvenient as these little quirks can be at times, they're things we're all more than happy to deal with day to day. Matt's a good boss. He takes care of us, with what little means he has. We don't get benefits, but he pays us for a full week of sick days each fiscal year, and we get paid holidays off. If we have something going on that we need to miss for, he never says no. We essentially set our own schedules and there's no minimum to the number of hours we can work so long as we're cool with the cut on our checks. The break room stays stocked with generic snacks and off-brand sodas, and as long as we're not tending to a patron, he genuinely couldn't care less whether we're on our phones or listening to music as long as our work is done. We don't have a dress code. No staff meetings. No 8-hour trainings. I won't be a millionaire anytime soon, but the pay is good. Better than I expected. When Matt told me at the beginning of my interview, which was actually just me filling out paperwork, what the pay rate was, I couldn't help raising a brow. I don't have a degree, I informed him, in case somehow he'd confused me with someone whose life was far more put together. Or any experience in the field, technically. I know, he said. Just think of it as incentive. I hope it's enough to keep you around. I didn't understand at first what the hell that was supposed to mean. We're in a slightly rougher area of town, so I figured maybe we'd run into the occasional dispute or keyed up addict. Then I finished my entry packet and flipped it over to find the last paper on the table, simply titled Staff Rules. It read as follows. 1. If you come across a man named Doug, tell him that of course you recognize him. Furthermore, ask why he's introducing himself, as you've worked together since you were hired. He will laugh and ask your forgiveness for being so forgetful, at which point you should be clear to go about your day. However, if he happens to ask if you think he's doing alright at his job, be sure to tell him he's doing so well that if he ever left we could never hire someone else to take his place. 2. There is no pool in the library. Not in the basement, which does not exist, nor on the roof. If someone asks if you've been swimming in the pool yet, do not give a definitive answer. Simply say that you don't like to swim. Important, do not say you can't swim. Just that you don't enjoy it. If you see a pool, exit the building and do not return until sunset the next evening. You're simply exhausted from working night shifts. 3. Do not bring peanuts or any peanut products into the building. Horace, our page, is allergic. 4. The second floor is only storage. Nothing is moving upstairs. If you think you hear anything unusual, i.e. scratching, stomping, humming, it's either the HVAC system or the pipes. 5. All of the keys that you need can be found on the keyring in the drawer below the time clock. If you come across a door that isn't labeled on the cheat sheet for the keys, you don't need to open it. It's likely just maintenance access. 6. Staff parking is in the upper lot. 7. When working in the children's area, do not be alarmed if books fall off the shelves from time to time. It's nearly imperceptible to the naked eye, but several of the shelves are built at a slight angle. 8. The coffee pot in the staff kitchen is free for everyone to use, and coffee supplies are located in the cabinet above the microwave. If you pick up the coffee pot and find that it is full of a dark, viscous substance, simply clean it out in the sink before using it. Just plug your nose while doing so. 9. We do not have gender-specific restrooms, and any protest in regards to such will not be tolerated. 10. If you see an elderly Hispanic woman dressed in mourning garb crying quietly with her head down at the table in the back corner next to nonfiction, do not approach her. However, if she makes eye contact with you of her own accord, be sure to offer her your condolences. If she signals for you to come closer, tell her that you're sorry but you have to get back to work. If she starts to stand, turn calmly away and begin walking at a brisk but unalarmed pace back toward the front of the building. Do not look behind you. Do not run. 11. On the last Saturday of each month, our custodian Della uses a specific cleaning solution to mop. The red coloration comes from the active ingredient, which is what protects the floors and keeps them from staining in the event of spills. It is not blood. 12. Please do not use Windex on the plexiglass windows of the meeting room. It streaks. 13. Keep an analog watch on your person at all times. If you ever feel that too little or too much time has passed since you entered the building, consult it rather than your phone or the clock on the computer. Whatever it says is correct. We look forward to working with you. Welcome to the Night Library. I've had several experiences worth recounting, to say the least, but I felt like laying the foundation out there was a decent place to start. If you'd like to hear more, stick around. Thanks for reading. Until next time, I guess. Adam.